start really with the basic question: what is this thing? I'll try not to use too many puns. What's the rack, or why are we being put on the rack, and so forth. This program is basically yet another set of contractors, and Medicare and CMS uses a lot of contractors already, but this is yet another group of them who are specifically engaged in focusing on overpayment issues and focusing on claims that CMS may believe that were improperly billed and ought to be recouped. Kind of a function that was a lot of the function of carriers and intermediaries, but in some respects are kind of being carved out of their bailiwick. Now, it was started as a demonstration program, and starting in 2010, it's supposed to go national. The RACs, as contractors, have proprietary data mining software, which we don't get to see, that they use to try to identify problem areas, and then they're going to be looking at a whole number of providers to see if these problem areas occur. They have the authority to both audit and collect what are claimed to be overpayments, and they are paid on a contingency, which of course gives them an incentive to try to find as many overpayments as possible, because they receive a percentage of those overpayments that are collected. So it's a program of people out there who are not necessarily focused on anything other than auditing, finding issues, and finding overpayments. Now, one point that's been made, and it's been focused on, is the fact that RACs are always supposed to find underpayments. And while this isn't necessarily going to add a whole lot to their income, they are authorized and directed to find those problems as well. Now, what is the current status, as we talk about on slide 5? Well, we had this demonstration program where there were 4 RAC auditors. It involved 4 states, and they did their demonstration. It turned out it seemed to generate a lot of money in overpayments, and now it was made permanent. And there were some delays in making this thing go forward. If you recall, Medicare said, well, we're only going to have 4 contractors. They had a sort of a competition, decided on 4, and those that got cut out said they were going to sue. They made a challenge of that, and everybody got along, because now those that got left out have become subcontractors of some of the existing 4 contractors. So everything is on track. It's supposed to start at the beginning of 2010. Among the subcontractors are a few of those that were involved in the original demonstration project and who were highly complained about it being unfair or not doing their job correctly, but they are now subcontractors. They have different duties. It's not well defined what they are going to do. Some of them are going to do processing. Some of them might do collection, but they're basically going to be out there working for the 4 main contractors. I can imagine that particularly the contractor dealing with the western states is going to have a lot on their plate, will likely be using 1 or more subcontractors. And talking about that, who are going to be doing this, we have that on slide 6. At this point, there's been not too much indication from Congress that they're going to tweak this program. So at least for right now, as best as we can read the tea leaves, this thing is going to go forward, and I think there is an incentive, particularly if we're going to have a healthcare reform plan and a desire to cut costs, for this kind of program to be continued and, if not, enhanced. Slide 6 gives you the names of the 4 different contractors, and one of the things, as we'll talk about in a second, that these contractors need to do is really provide you, the provider, with contact information, and particularly you need to have a website where you'll be able to get information about what's going on. If you're the subject of an audit, what's going on with your audit. We've checked it this morning, and maybe our computers are not working well, but we can only find one of these, Connolly Consulting, that has any website at all about this. There's one other one that I think has a site, but it doesn't seem to work. Connolly Consulting, if you go to their website, /RAC, R-A-C, you'll see a fundamental or rudimentary web page that has some information, but it's clearly not fully ready for what they're supposedly going to be doing with these websites. The other part of what's going on right now is that there's supposed to be essentially introduction meetings with each of these contractors, where CMS and the contractor are making presentations to the providers in each region. And one of them that was scheduled, the one for, I believe, Texas, was recently taken off schedule because of the concern of the swine flu that's been going around. So you should expect over the next several months, if you haven't heard yet, that there's going to be some kind of rollout, some kind of introductions, and you'll be hearing more about these contractors, I'm sure, over the next several months. On slide 7, and starting in a few more slides, I wanted to focus for a few minutes, because these are really important, not only to understand the process, but to understand that these are things we can hold the RACs to do, and make sure that these contractors do what they're supposed to do under the new permanent standards. Now, there were some rules that they used in the demonstration, some of which have been modified for the future. The idea is these improvements they've called were to make less of a burden on providers, assure more accuracy in terms of what the RACs are doing, and have more transparency between what the RACs are doing and what providers know. And so we'll see if that really is being achieved by these changes. First of all, as we see on slide 7, there is the ability to not only go back 1 year, you can actually go back in terms of claims up to 3 years. It used to be in the demonstration up to 4 years, which caused a lot of issues for many providers. So at least they can only look back now 3 years rather than 4. Reviews can only go back up to October 2007, which would be 3 years from 2010, and they can't go back any earlier than that date. One of the complaints of the original program was that there was concern that people who weren't really either licensed or knowledgeable or in the field were handling these claims, making decisions. And so now the requirement is that these contractors must have licensed people, either RNs or therapists, depending on what the issues are they're looking at, must have certified coders to make coding decisions, must have a medical director that would probably obviously be involved in medical necessity and doctor, physician kind of decisions. And so that would also mean that maybe there will be actual real people that one can contact who you can talk turkey with about a particular claim or issue. The contingency fees are set. They're a little bit different for each contractor. They're approximately 10%. So you can kind of see what in a particular case what it's going to be worth to the contractor when and if you get involved with an appeal. Another objection was that that the contractor didn't lose their payment unless they lost at a certain level of appeal. But now, if they lose at any level, they lose their contingency fee, which means that maybe they're going to be less incentivized to just make mistakes in their decisions and say, oh, I'll go ahead and appeal it because I'm probably going to get paid anyway. So hopefully that will give them more incentive to be accurate before the appeal stage is reached. So as we talk about on slide 8, among the other